How's it going, guys? Thank you so much for joining me today. So today we're talking maybe one of the best high rye bourbons I've had in some time, and coming from the state of Texas. Let's talk about that today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. Hey guys, and like I mentioned, we are talking a high rye bourbon today. And again, maybe one of the better high rye bourbons I've had in quite some time. So what is the high rye bourbon we're gonna be talking about today? So it's gonna be from Still Austin. This is coming in at 100 proof or 50% ABV. Mash bill is gonna be 70% white corn, 25% rye, and 5% malted barley. It's not age stated, but we know with it being a bottled and bond that it's gonna be a minimum of 4 years old. And the price on this is gonna be right around that $70 price point. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get into this and see what this one's gonna be all about. So color-wise on this first, as you can see, a lot of Texas whiskey, specifically this one here from Still Austin, has a really beautiful burnt orange kind of color to it. A lot of their whiskeys had this beautiful, beautiful color to it. So really, really nice oil so far on the glass, even at that 100 proof point. All right, let's go ahead and get into the nose. Wow, so immediately on this really nice butter pecan, kind of vanilla custard note. Beautiful, beautiful baking spices. There's almost this spicy chocolate kind of note to it as well. A little bit of that barrel char, which you're gonna get with some of the Texas whiskeys. Nice black pepper. Again, that beautiful butter pecan, kind of vanilla custard note. Beautiful oak note on it. It's got this, the oak note on this is a mixture of a couple of things. There's definitely the barrel char note, all while still having a little bit of that kind of rickhouse effect to it. Yeah, sweet, spicy, nice oak. Again, that great butter pecan. All right, more importantly, let's see how this one's gonna taste. Cheers. So my first reaction to this is it's got a really nice, creamy mouthfeel, nice texture to it. Actually, quickly following that, you get this really nice hint of a brown sugar. That wasn't necessarily something I was getting on the nose. May have been there, and I may have just kind of overlooked it, but a really nice brown sugar note on this one. Again, still some of that butter pecan, fresh kind of vanilla custard, a little bit of black pepper. Definitely some barrel influence on this one as well, but not overdone. It really feels more along the line of that sweet kind of rickhouse oak that it has, with just a little hint of maybe even that campfire or s'mores effect. So there's a little bit of that feel of graham cracker, marshmallow, a little bit of char that you may get on that marshmallow. Really fantastic notes on this so far. With that high rye, that spice, maybe a little bit more of those baking spices are definitely there. That is one thing that's kind of continued to linger throughout. More that I kind of sip on it, the more the kind of campfire s'mores effect kind of starts to come out on this one a little bit, with that butter pecan note, fresh custard. So this has the feel of a very decadent, all while still having that slight kind of Texas earthiness that's there to it. But in my opinion, what it is that Still Austin does to make their bourbons really mainstream and very approachable to a lot of people and a lot of people's palates, this is a really nice representation of that. I think there's an awful lot of people who enjoy that rich, kind of heavy bourbon profile, that they're gonna definitely find it in this bourbon. The more I kind of continue to sip on it, more of those kind of dark fruits that start to come out a little bit, maybe a cherry kind of note. It's not super defined, but it feels like a dark fruit note to me on this. Maybe even a little touch or a hint of mint there on the end. It's not always something I get with Texas whiskeys, and maybe that high rye is bringing out a little bit of that mint that's there in this one. Something again kind of late for me with this was this little hint or a touch of a burnt orange or an orange zest, something along those lines. So I feel that this is something that as you sit down with it and maybe explore it a little bit more, It's going to continue to maybe open up, change slightly. But I think overall, what this bourbon represents for the state of Texas, and really even outside of the state of Texas, I think they've done a fantastic job of making this, again, like I'd mentioned before, very approachable, something that an awful lot of people would truly enjoy if they like that profile that I've kind of talked about today. Again, what it is that Still Austin has done and is doing and hopefully will continue to do is make this a much more approachable bourbon for the masses. And it's something that I absolutely love in what it is that they're doing. So if this sounds like something that would interest you or kind of pique your curiosity, I would highly encourage you to maybe look for their High Rye Bottled and Bond bourbon. It is a really, really nice bourbon to just sit down, sip on, has a great overall flavor profile. You know, finish-wise, probably on that medium, maybe approaching the medium long side, but all of medium for the most part. And again, like I had mentioned, you definitely get that kind of s'mores effect, great baking spices, nice rye notes that are there, even though I think the rye notes are translating over to more of that kind of spice or baking spice effect for me on this, more so than just a straight up kind of rye note. I think this one is really, again, like I had mentioned, very, very approachable, all while continuing to have that beautiful, beautiful high rye bourbon profile. So there you have it. This is, again, from Still Austin, their High Rye Bottled and Bond bourbon. Again, I would highly encourage you, if you're not overly familiar with what it is that Still Austin is doing as a whole, look into it. This would be a fantastic place to start if you'd like what it is that I've described. And again, I think they've made their bourbon so approachable to the masses that it really is going to make their brand, I think, even more appealing to a lot of people around the country. So definitely give Still Austin a try if you haven't. And if this was something that was on your radar and you were curious about it, I wouldn't hesitate to pick this one up at all. Again, like I mentioned, I think it's a fantastic high rye bourbon. It's one of those high rye bourbons that for me really fits my palate in terms of those dark, kind of richer, heavier bourbon notes. It's something I really like. It allows for those finishes to be much longer than kind of typical. So again, if you haven't had something from Still Austin, great place to start, again, with their High Rye Bottled and Bond bourbon. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to support the channel and become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check out the Patreon link in the description below. And as always, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.